Hey guys, welcome to WoW Experience from WoW Lab XR. Here we chat about virtual and augmented reality. Today our guest is Michael, CEO of Amplifier AI, an XR medtech startup.
Cool. Yeah. So interesting. So let me start from myself. I'm a serial entrepreneur with a couple of successful exits under my belt. So I'm basically a technical background. So and doing a startup in startup world for more than 12 years right now. Before I did software development, project management, everything, even marketing. So I did everything before, but 3 years ago we started our own project in a healthcare space. So yeah, I could talk a bit more about the background of this project, how we get to what we have right now, but let's talk a bit later. So what else about myself? So I'm originally from Ukraine. Right now, lived in the United States in the Silicon Valley, in the Palo Alto. So it's just probably heart of the Silicon Valley. And we've doing this startup amplifier for 3 years right now, and we have amazing team and around the world. So, but yeah, company is a United States company. Yeah.
Just Michael, I know a lot of people who are doing software development in Ukraine right now. And so it was just very interesting to understand for me, and I think for a lot of people as well, how to get from a point where you are doing software development in Ukraine to the point where you're raising rounds in the Silicon Valley and just making startups that can actually make the world a better place. So what was the way? How did you come from doing software development in Ukraine to making startups in the Valley?
Okay, yeah, let me try. Yeah, so basically it's a long story. I moved from Ukraine 18 years ago. 10 years I lived in Israel. And basically that was my location where I moved from the software development to the entrepreneurship. So the startup that I've created, the first one was 12 years ago. It was a marketing analytics platform. And when I developed software in Ukraine, everybody think about the software. But once I moved to the Israel, like it's a startup community. I was amazed about the people and everybody in my company. When I started to work, everybody think about like how to disrupt the world, how to create something new. And it's like, it's a bit viral. So once you talk to those people, amazing people who thinking every day how to create something new, even if they not started, they talking about this every day. And that was like, for me, it was so interesting and completely different from in terms of my perspective, what software developers talking in Ukraine compared to what the software developers talking in Israel. And that definitely, I had this idea starting to talk with those people. And then we started to think about how to create some startups. And basically we've connected with a couple of software developers, marketing people, and created the first startup, like a side job. It was a side project. And a lot of people there create side projects during like non-working hours, sitting in drinking beer and inventing something new. And that was amazing. So that's a completely new scene for me, new opportunities and so on. And then once I sold it, we moved to United States. And I continued doing the startups. I created a couple more during this time. And the last one I sold 2 years ago. It was in a mobile development in a mobile application. Let me talk a bit how we get to the startup what we have right now. When I moved to Israel, I lived together with the doctors. So it was the community where all doctors learn Hebrew. It's basically repatriants from the Russia, Ukraine, Eastern Europe, Western Europe. So a lot of different peoples. And it was we've talked a lot. We have a lot of friends from the doctors community. And since then, I have a technical background. It's a doctors with, drinking beer at night, at evenings, or whatever. And we always think how to merge the technology and healthcare. So I have a dream about a healthcare startup for more than 15 years right now. So we've talking about that. We're thinking how we could move and how we could help in healthcare startups. And 3 years ago, when we started this, we finally found how we could do and what we exactly would like to do. So we had a lot of ideas before. but we were amazed with the idea that we had 3 years ago. But even during 3 years of this startup, we did a couple times pivoting and to get what we have right now. So last pivot was into VR 1.5 years ago, something like that. And that's the startup what we started, and that's why we're talking right now about XR and healthcare and AI and all that stuff.
So basically you move to Israel, and Israel has this kind of a startup mindset where everybody after military service is thinking how to kind of do something amazing to disrupt the world. And there you got this mindset of creating startups, that's a great idea. And so then you moved to creating startups, you made some successful exits, and now you are with Amplifier AI. And as you said, you made a couple of pivots. I think these kind of startups that include complex technologies such as XR are like pretty deep tech. And so starting them is not usually what people do when they think about making startups. So how did you decide to create Amplifier AI? What was the initial idea, and how did you pivot during the way?
Cool. Yeah. So the idea was like, let's say 3 years ago was a lot of startups rising in AI scene in a healthcare. So all of the startups doing like, let's say pathology finding in brain and lungs. And basically why the lot of startups rise 3 years ago, 3 to 5 years ago, because the AI was major enough. The algorithms were ready for production based and ready for applying it to real products. And basically that's, we think like, and we hadn't one startup in the AI space before we closed it. So, but we had an amazing experience through these years. So we started AI 6 years ago from now, and we did a lot of imaging, and not in the healthcare. I mean, like another startup. But we've get some knowledge through these in the previous startups, and we decided, okay, let's apply this our knowledge and our dream into the healthcare, into the and create the new venture, Amplifier. So we've joined with the guys in Israel. So one of the co-founder in Israel is a medical radiologist. So we've started to talk how we could apply, because again, I don't understand anything in healthcare. 3 years ago, nothing. How things works inside. So I understand from their talks, but not deep enough to understand how to disrupt this. And we started to talk, okay, we could do like pathology finding there and there. So basically half year takes only for, to understand how we could apply something into the healthcare. So we just playing with algorithms, with different techniques, with the understanding what is even CT images and MRI images, because for us, for developers, everything was new. So they never worked with the healthcare images before. And it takes like half year, like a learning curve for everyone, from the management to developers. And so finally we found the niche like that is was not busy. As a lungs or brain, we decided to do pathology finding in a spine using CT and MRI images. We've created amazing algorithms so that we've developed a couple internal tools to improve the algorithms, improve the time for creating from the scratch and segmenting the images to the final results, final outcome of the algorithms. So we did a lot of things, but what happened basically during this way, everyone in our team were amazed with like different gadgets, technologies, and so on. And I think 4 years ago, Oculus and Facebook released Oculus as a first one, and it was an amazing headset. I think like that's what changed where VR is right now. So even HTC exists before, and some other bulky headsets exist many years before. I think Oculus changed the things how VR. How we are getting into the customer, how they interact with the app store and all this stuff. So they created an ecosystem that was not exist before. I think Oculus did an amazing thing, and it was pretty cheap, and it was standalone headset. You don't need any laptop. So I think it was amazing headset and amazing like a gadget to play with. And the idea was like, okay, let's try to play with it and to create like something like to visualize these medical imaging in 3D space. And we've created like internal product. And basically the idea for this internal product was like, developers don't understand anything in healthcare and in a medical imaging. The medical team don't know how to explain what exactly we are looking for, because it's like regular conventional images. It's like a 2D images, grayscale, and it's really, really hard to explain to the developers what we are looking for. We are looking for pathology, why it's pathology here, how we could create algorithms if you don't understand what are you doing. So the idea was like, okay, let's allow our team, medical team, explain to developers and show anatomy and pathologies inside the 3D space, inside the VR. And that's basically really helps us. So it's allows to better communicate between the teams who don't understand each other before. And during these ways, what happened else, and that's basically why we did a pivot, our mother CTOs, she had a cancer, and it was no successful way to do the surgery, because I don't know how to say that in the medical terminology, but some viral structures was pretty close, and when to cut this tumor, you could cut something important. So they can't find the way to do that safely. And what happened, so we've decided, okay, let's take a look in the VR. Let's take a look at her medical imaging in VR. We asked the doctors in Israel to take a look. And finally, what happens, once you see like using conventional way, you see something that the structures are pretty close. But once you see it in a 3D space, you're starting to understand that you could finally find successful way to do the surgery. And basically, she was successfully operated with complete tumor resection. So everything was fine. And that was like, okay, stop. Let's stop here and try to think how we could apply the same, what we did right now with the just one case to all cases, because that really helps to our CTO's mother. And so what happens next? We've started to get deeper into understanding why it happens and why it happened. And basically, we found that the surgeons don't understand CT and MRI images in the same way that radiologists is doing. So the idea was like, okay, let's transfer the radiologist knowledge using AI algorithms and create a tool to help the...
So, excuse me, Michael, for interrupting you, but I think that some people who are listening to this podcast might not know what is exactly the task of the radiologist when we're speaking about treating cancer, and what is the task of a surgeon. So if you could please explain, like if we have a scenario that there is a person who is sick, he has some kind of a pathology in his spine. So how does the process usually work from the perspective of the radiologist, the surgeon, and your team as you are helping this thing to like move forward?
Yeah, okay. So let's start probably from the specialties. So radiologist is working with the CT and MRI images like every day. It takes like 3 years to learn radiology specialization, like and focus only on radiology. It takes 3 years, and then they start working like every day with these grayscale images to understand, read it. And basically the idea of the radiologist is just to write the radiology report for the surgeon. So for example, if you came with something that requires the CT and MRI images, and your doctor send you to CT and MRI, so that finally, after the CT and MRI is ready, radiologists take these images, look into it, find some pathologies that could have. So, for example, if you have a heart pain, so they take looking into the heart, but they're required to take a look to the whole image as well, in addition, and write a report what they saw on this specific image. So that's one idea. For the surgeons, the surgeons take this report finally, read what's in the report, and go to the surgery. For example, one of the case, like patient came with the heart pain, I think, and radiologist wrote that it's our dissection type 1, let's say, and the surgeon take this report and go to the surgery and do this specific type of the surgery. But what happens? When the amplifier could help here? So in some cases, radiologist. So the surgeon is not enough the written report. And they started to ask radiologists, okay, measure me something, let's say, I don't know, some distance between inside the arteries or whatever they would like to know before going to the specific surgery. And it's like a ping pong. So they ask the question, radiologists do some measurements, because radiologists don't know exactly what they need for this type of surgery. And surgeons can't do the measurements by themselves, because the radiologists use like specific tools developed for the radiologist, basically. And it's like a ping pong. They waste a lot of time communicating each other. And one of the way to do that, they use in multidisciplinary session where a lot of specialists sitting in the same room, like radiologists, surgeons, and trying to find the way how to perform specific surgery. It's, I mean, like it's for more complex surgeries, like, I don't know, I don't remember the names of the surgeries. So one of type of the surgeries that we are doing right now, it's called DIPE. I will talk later about that. But again, we're talking about like complicated surgery that takes 5 to 10 hours. We're not talking about surgeries that requires like a 30 minutes. Because let's say radiology, surgeon is experienced surgeon with many years experience. So they don't need these visualization or whatever. They just understand what exactly they need to do. They cut patients like every day, 10 patients per day, or I don't know, 5 patients per day. So they don't need anything in between to interrupt their workflow. So they got the report, they go to the surgery and do the surgery like 30 minutes, 1 hour surgery. But for the more complicated case, sometimes they don't know how to do the surgery safely. They need to measure a lot of things. They need to understand the patient anatomy in each case, for each case. And that's where the amplifier comes into the scene and helps the surgeon. So the idea behind the amplifier was like helping surgeon to look into the VR and understand the patient anatomy, see where is tumor, whatever they need exactly for this type of the surgery. So we tailoring like every visualization for specific procedure. So one surgeon who is doing like cardiac surgery will see differently from, let's say, a hepatobiliary surgery who doing the liver. So they see completely different view, completely different tissues and visualization. So we target and we're tailoring the visualization directly for each procedure. And that's basically, I could explain for one of the procedure how things works and how compared to the conventional way, how we performs, basically. And if you would like, get deeper into the specifically healthcare things. But we're here for, I mean, like XR and UX as well, right? So let's get deeper into these things.
Yeah, of course. Just for, I think for understanding for everybody of just what Amplifier is doing, I think right now you've done an amazing job explaining actually how the process happens. So basically, as you told, the radiologist is a person who's experienced in understanding of the MRI like photos and trying to understand what is exactly located where and what's happening. Then the radiologist gives the report of these kind of MRIs to the surgeon, and the surgeon performs a surgery. But if the surgery is super complex, then it's complicated to give a valid understanding of how to do the surgery by just looking at the reports, and they have to talk and they have to like spend more time to understand what to do. And with the help of Amplifier AI right now, surgeons can spend much less time of speaking with radiologists, and just by looking at the MRIs inside virtual reality, they can understand everything much faster. Am I correct?
Yeah, that's correct.
Okay, so that is amazing. So telling a bit more about Amplifier AR and the process, I think it's really important to understand what is the main key advantages that virtual reality gives to Amplifier AI, because now probably you can look at MRI images in 3D from your computer, or like from basically any screen that you want. And so what is the biggest advantage, what is the biggest benefit, the biggest value that the technology of virtual reality gives to your startup?
Oh yeah, so so basically it's mergent. So like especially in visualization in VR for the healthcare images exists for many years before we started our startup. But that's not what we're talking about here. I would like to talk how the AI and VR helps here, because it's two technologies that merge and then give something different from what exists currently on the market, and why it's better to look into the VR than just looking on the 2D monitor, 3D images on 2D monitor, even in a 3D monitor, by the way. First of all, let's talk a bit how the surgeons interact with their other tools. So if something takes for them more than 5 minutes to interrupt their workflow or their day, they will not use these tools. So that's really complicated. So the surgeons are really, really busy. And something that requires, complicated tools, complicated software, requires something that interrupt from their work. That's really they will not use. So the idea, once we created Amplifier, one goal, and it was like the goal it was main goal to create the product which not interrupting their workflow. The learning curve were really fast into getting into the tool, and the times that they spent with this tool will be really, really short. So that was an initial goal that we achieved basically in the VR. So using VR and let's say hands or controllers helps them to interact with the image the same way that they do every day. So surgeons work with the hands. So the hands, they're important tools for them. And using VR with their joystick controllers, right? It's so natural for them that the surgeons who never saw the VR before starting to use our tool in 5 minutes. So 5-10 minutes, that's enough to start using the VR compared to other products. So let's say we're talking about the complicated tools that exist and doing something similar. I could talk a bit more about why we're different, but in the technical details, I'm not sure that it's interesting here. But let's say they use the regular tools. Most of the tools that exist on the market require radiologists in between. So to work with the densities in a CT and MRI images, to prepare these 3D images, they require radiologists in between. And that's eliminate the usage of these tools for the surgeons. So the radiologists prepare these images, then the surgeons looks into the images and finally found, okay, I would like to see something different, and radiologists go back to this tool, create something different. So they interact again. And then bring the same what we have right now. And VR here helps manipulate with the image the way that the surgeons need exactly for this procedure. So if they would like to see, I don't know, heart and its side, they just take this tool inside the VR, look into the patient, and see the same way that they see during the surgery time. Why VR here is really helps to the surgeon. So what one of the feedback that we got from the surgeons, it's really, really interesting. So we didn't expect even that. But the feeling during the surgery time, after they looking into VR, they have a feeling that they already did this procedure with the patient. So looks like that the same patient, they already did the surgery. And they get more confident and basically reduce time of the surgery. So a lot of things that VR helps them, because again, manipulation with the image with the hands, be it 3D visualization the same way that they saw or see during the surgery, really helps them to be more confident during the surgery. So for one of procedure that we're using tool right now in Israel, the surgeon says they can't go to the surgery without looking into VR. So they can't. So it's so addictive for them. It's not a toy. It's tool that require for everyday surgeries.
That is amazing. That is actually that is super cool that you have achieved such great results. And a question always comes here because VR is a very new technology. And specifically when we're speaking about the process, about the user experience, it's not something that a lot of people have done before. And so you don't have a big amount of things to reference yourself from, and you don't have a big amount of specialists to exactly work in the sphere and understand how to create user experiences for virtual reality. So I would actually like to ask you some questions about the product part, about the user experience. And when you were pivoting and when you were moving to VR, what were the main challenges and struggles that you have come upon when you were trying to connect Amplifier AI as it was with VR to create an amazing product that is going to be better than something that was before?
Yeah, so one, that what I mentioned before, that we've created a goals that it should be like a simple tool that the surgeons could start using it immediately. And basically we didn't have an experience in AVR development at all. So when we've created the first product and first prototype, we understand that it's not easy to use. And that's, so you have only one time to, for wow effect for the surgeon. So once you introduce something to the surgeon, you have only one. If they like this tool, they will use it. If not, they will never use it. So before showing anything to the surgeons, we've decided, okay, so we need to develop the amazing UX and UI. And I think like UX, it's a 50% of the success of the product. Really, so a lot of people underestimate like UX and create some tool that is not. So they do the same functionality, but no one can use it. So I don't want to say the names, but once we created, it was like an just a viewer for the CT and MRI images, and that already exists on the market. And we've taken one of the famous one, asked the surgeons to use this tool. Nobody can't use this tool, and that was okay. That was a sign for us. Okay, if no one can use it, we need to change something. So the UX and definitely is a main part here, and it was a challenge for us because again, I never had experience in a VR space, how to interact with these things. And again, we could take like an experience from the game and try to use it here. By the way, we've used a bit as well. And but not a lot of tools exist for the professional workers, and so once we created a UX that we've started to get the feedback from the surgeons as well, how to change these things, what exactly they would like to see. So some like a basic things. So we started with the white room, but finally understand that surgeons and radiologists works with the CT and MRI images in a black room, because it's like their everyday job in a black room, because they need to see the grayscale difference in between the pixels. So in the VR, we change it to black. So like small things brings a lot to the surgeons. But we also need, so we developed some algorithms before with AI, without VR. But then we started to transform these algorithms into VR. It's another challenge, basically, in a product.
Okay, that sounds very much interesting. And so basically, as you were saying, that nobody created things like this before in VR that worked well and that the surgeons liked. And I think for me and for other people as well, it's very interesting to understand specifically in the med tech, how the process of negotiating and finding clients looks, and with the product that is not 100% ready, that is in the kind of iteration phase, what is the way how you connect with doctors, with the surgeons, with radiologists? How do you speak with them, and how do you collect feedback?
Amazing. So that's basically what we've built from scratch in our team, and it's basically workflow, how we create the product from beginning till the end. Because again, we had a platform with VR and the AI, but every specialty is different. So every surgeon requires different visualization and different tools. So what we've done, we've created like a workflow, what exactly we need to do on each step. So the first step, we go to the surgeons of specific specialty, let's say for the hepatobiliary surgery, which is liver, and ask them how they perform surgery. So basically, it's not me talking to these guys, so the radiologist mostly, and our co-founder, who is the chief medical officer in Israel, he start communication with the doctors of specific specialty. So we've talking with the radiologist who specialized in the radiology for hepatobiliary. We're talking to the surgeons who specialized in hepatobiliary surgery. So we're trying to gather feedbacks, because once you came to the surgeons, they don't understand exactly how to use these tools. So they never had this tool before. They never had these tools before. So they don't understand how to help you. But what we're trying to get from them, what the feedback we would like to get from them in the initial phase, it's like how you perform the operation, what exactly measurements are you doing, what you would like to see, and what you see during the surgery time. So we would like to achieve the results when they have the same feeling, like they take a look into VR, go to the surgery, and see the same view that during the surgery. And so that's the first phase. Then we created like a prototyping. So we create algorithms that helps to do something. For example, for a procedure called DIPE, it's a breast reconstructive surgery. So instead of using the breast implants, the surgeons use the arteries from abdominal wall, and our algorithms, why we help here. So it's pretty complicated surgery, and it takes like about 10 hours. And the preoperative planning takes from 1 to 2 hours for two specialists, like radiologist and surgeon. So what we've created a tool that removes, an algorithm that removes fat from abdominal wall and emphasize these arteries. Sounds simple, but instead of like 1-2 hours of planning, surgeons takes 5 minutes to do the same type of the planning. So that's the time that requires for the same type of
That's
procedure.
super impressive. That is super impressive. Yeah. That is very cool, actually.
Yeah, we did the clinical. We did the prospective or retrospective clinical study right now, and starting prospective clinical study in Montreal, Canada right now for one type of procedure. And then it's basically the same things for every module that we've created. So every module that we're working on, we've trying to get the feedbacks from the surgeons. We're trying to get the first prototype shown to surgeons and ask their feedback. Once they see already a real prototype, they could suggest, okay, I would like to see these things, then these things that will help me to do like preoperative planning or better understand the anatomy. So we've communicate with them, and like a ping pong during development time, and we've created tools, algorithms just for specific type of procedure. So that's like a way. And then we started to perform a retrospective and prospective clinical studies for one type of the surgery, how Amplifier could help and could help in a specific procedure.
Okay, so that is super interesting. And basically your main client is the surgeon, not the clinic where the surgeon is working. Am I correct?
Yeah, so even if the paying customer is a clinic, because the clinic's hospitals buying the product, the final customer is the surgeon. And so we need to impress the surgeons first of all and show the product to them. So our customers are surgeons, and basically we've started interacting with the surgeons. And in most hospitals, surgeons has a way to ask for specific product if they saw something interesting that will help them save their time, save the patient lives, or decrease the complication rate, and they think that the product will help them, they could ask the hospital to buy something. And so basically the decision makers mostly here are surgeons.
And so, as I understood, you're already doing this thing with VR and AR together for around 1.5 years right now. Am I correct?
Yes.
And so, did you find any competition coming from the sides during the way when you were becoming more and more successful with the tasks that your product and service helps to accomplish?
Yeah. So first of all, if you looking into VR and the healthcare, you will find a lot of startups, and 90% of them, it's doing the VR for educational purposes that are not our competitors, basically not main competitors or not direct competitors, because they're using VR. They could use even AI, but they're using it for educational purposes. So they prepare the images in advance and then show to the surgeons and use like specific tools to interact with these images. We definitely have some competitors on the market, and one of them, it's called Surgical Theater, which is an Israel-based company. They started from educational product and moved into the preoperative planning as well. We still had differences, and one of the differences using AI and tailored to each procedure compared to what they do in like in a generic algorithms and visualize a completely different way. And we're still thinking what we are doing, it's much harder and it takes longer to prepare for each procedure, but outcomes are completely different from what others doing. So we take like longer way, but it brings some results.
And so it's, I think, very important to ask for any sort of founder right now, what is your main vision for the next 5 years with Amplifier AI? What do you think are strategic goals of the products and the company in general, and how are you willing to reach them?
Okay, so next 5 years, yeah, it's pretty simple. So for the next year, our main goal, and that's we are raising funds right now, it's an Fda Clearance. So in a VR, no one did this before us. Only I think one company did it with AI and VR, but they require like complicated hardware, completely different product. But in general, no one did the FDA clearance. FDA, it's like a certificate of quality, let's say, in here. So every hospital seen FDA clearance mark saying that it's safe to use for a specific type of the procedure or whatever. So for example, right now, FDA clear or approve every AI algorithm that need to be used in hospitals. So up to date, it's only 50 algorithms around the world approved through the FDA. So not too much. And it's just for specific, narrow niche. Every algorithm is specific. So what we're going to do next year, it's do the FDA clearance. So we already started to communicate with the company who is helping us to do the FDA clearance, and it takes about a year. So it's long process to get this. And basically what we are going to do next, we are going to find a couple of key opinion leaders in the United States. So to work with the hospitals here. Right now we're working in the hospitals in Israel, Canada, and the next our market is the United States. So even if I'm here, we still have hospitals around the world, and we are still not working here. But the next milestone, it's FDA and key opinion leaders in the United States, definitely. And the next, it's in 5 years, so 3 years after FDA, basically. It's to achieve about 3% coverage. So we would like that every hospital, every surgery room has this tool and has this software, our software, to help them to do the preoperative planning, helps them do the surgeries, saving lives, decreasing complication rates, decreasing length of stay in the hospital. So we help in different stages in different procedures. So we'd like to cover at least 3% of the market.
That is a great plan, and I know that FDA matters a lot in USA and in North America in general. And it's very interesting that software solutions are getting approved by FDA, and the way how it's getting, it's actually super interesting how the industry will go in the next 5 to 10 years.